there is no clear, obvious must-take path at this point because they're depending on how these next handful of games go. I think there's 12 games before the deadline. You could either be a couple below 500, a couple above 500. The wild card, like you talked about at the beginning, the expansion of the playoff field has changed so that there's a lot fewer clear-cut buyers and sellers. And I feel like this Twins team this season is just an example of so much of that where they are truly like right on the fence. And I guess like what is there are there challenges to that of like, well, we have to pick a lane here, or does that kind of lend itself to standing pat more often because there isn't an obvious logical, like you said, a 68% thing that's good and a 30, it might just be 51-49 at this point.
Well, I think it's also further complicated by a point that I think you both have made throughout this conversation, which is they also may be up for sale.
Right.
And so what additional pressures, whether perceived or real, are additional to what the facts of the matter are right now? So, I think, hey, listen, they are no doubt looking at all of the behind the scenes data to understand what is their real chance of contending and competing this year. On paper, they are within puncher's chance of the wild card. It seems as if the division's probably a little bit out of reach. Crazier things have happened, but I don't think they're looking at the division as the most viable path to getting into the playoffs, which is certainly so much more preferred than playing wild card games. But I think, they're looking at a run differential, which is a little bit below zero, but not dramatically below zero. But that's kind of indicative of that their record is probably pretty close to how they've performed. They're looking at their strength of schedule for the rest of the season, which I think is, in the bottom third, which is to say it's a little bit favorable to them. So that's a real factor to consider. I think they're really, trying to assess, and they know better than any of us, like the path forward for the return of, the return to full strength of Zebby Matthews, Luke Keeschel, Pablo Lopez, amongst others. Like how soon and how realistic is it for them to be at full strength? And they're also juxtaposing that against the fact that, I think they ideally would like to wait as long as they possibly can to make as informed a decision as they possibly can. But I think they're also going to be savvy. If some team comes at them and is really pushing extremely hard, they're going to listen because they're smart. And, they know, the beauty of the Twins right now is, yes, they do have a few free agents come season's end. And those guys may be guys that are a little bit easier for them to talk about. And, guys like France and Coulomb and Paddock and a few others. But they really have like this wealth of players who they have through 2027, after which point, they are going to have to make some tough decisions. But the good news is they don't have to make those today. They don't even have to make those tomorrow. But I think those will be that kind of stable of players will be the players that people are going to be pursuing the most. And, that's Duran and Jax and Ober and Ryan. And then, one more year after that is Royce Lewis. Like, those are the windows within which, like, I think you have to be really attentive. Those will be the guys that teams will pursue. So it'll be incumbent upon the Twins to look at it and say, okay, regardless of where we think we are from a competitive landscape this year, if we're healthy next year, are we likely to take a step back, or do those guys bolster us to the tune of thinking that we can contend for our division again, and assess them accordingly? And if you feel as if the window for Detroit is really wide open and they're going to sustain success for a period of time, you may look at that one way. If you think, hey, we think if we are healthier next year and we have this infusion of players at AAA that we know are going to come up and impact us, like, you're going to be reluctant to trade away players that can help you win next year because they're not diminishing in value, barring an injury. So you can trade them this offseason if you truly want to, or next trade deadline if you truly want to. Maybe we want to stick around to see if we can be competitive not only in 25, but also for 26, because we're still going to carry forward the vast majority of those guys through 26 and 27.
And welcome to the end of this video. There's lots more. For another, just click on one of these boxes.
Or click on this circle in the middle to subscribe to all of our Twins Talk.
Thank you.
Gleeman